part. So 5. Okay, and we're live.
For real this time.
Yes.
And living color.
Hey, y'all.
We in live and in living color, right?
Hey.
Yes, we are. If you're out there, say hello. We are live with the KHive.
KHive.
I'm gonna sneak in.
Okay. Hey, Shayna. Hey, Shayna says she can hear us. So I'm the only person who can see the chat comments right now. So go ahead and leave your comments. We're waiting for Sydney to join us for episode 8 of Live with the KHive. And so leave your comments and I'll read it off to the panel and we'll see who wants to take your questions. If anybody's out there, go ahead, let us know. Hey, Dre.
Y'all know we are, you know what I'm saying? We banging, you know what I'm saying? Got that common flag on deck, you know how it is. Hey, look, hold up. When I tell you we flooded out, you feel me?
Okay, I see you, Drew.
Drew is all swagged out. If you guys like what Drew has on, then put a thumbs up in the comments so that we can see. Hey, Dre. Hey, Carol. All right. Yes, the wine. I have a supersized glass. Supersized glass. Hey, Melanie. Is anybody on YouTube? Let me check my YouTube and make sure that it's live
I'm looking
there.
on Periscope right now, and it looks like a few people are chiming in right now. You know,
okay. Okay. Knowledgeable Hollywood Squares. That's a compliment. I like that. I really like that. Let's see. Dre gives a thumbs up, so you have a thumbs up for your picture. I mean, for your bandana and your swag.
Word.
If y'all like Maya's leather jacket, give her a thumbs up. Hey, Rachel.
Right? Go ahead, Maya. I like Maya's lipstick.
Giving us "I'm Your Baby Tonight" with the leather jacket.
I'm your baby tonight. So we're waiting on Sydney. Sydney be on CP time, Chia. So that's why we said, okay, let's hop on at 9 o'clock on time, and we can answer some questions. So you have the whole crew. You have Drew. You have me. You have Maya. You have Heather. Not the whole. We're waiting on Sydney and Kenny. So if you guys have any comments, then let me know and I will ask them. Drew, somebody says, I need the flag. That's Dre that says that. High thumbs up, Maya, for your jacket. Jacket plays. Hey, Aaron. So if you guys watch, hey, Simply Toya. So if you guys watch Live with the KHive, we do this Zoom every Friday. And then we post it after we do the editing and stuff. But we said, let's try doing this. Let's try doing this live this week since I've been trying to figure out this live stuff. So that's what we're doing. Hey, Amy. She says, my son picked up my Kamala hat and said, does this say democracy? Yes. Shayna watches on Periscope. Thank you. Hey, Dave, or is it Dov? Not sure. David, live. Okay, we got just a P. I hope that the YouTube comments aren't off the chain yet. YouTube has been behaving in my lives that I've been doing this week, but you know, it could go
I'm scared to look. I'm scared to go look at it.
Yeah, if you guys want to pull up, I mean, it's live streaming now. I haven't seen anybody on Facebook, so I don't know if anybody's on. I was on for 2 hours debunking Kamala Harris stuff. And so people might be sick of seeing anything that pops up online, but I have a whole crew here, the Live with the KHive crew. Hobby Lover Friend says it's lit. Yes. Sire says someone is missing. Yes, we are waiting on Sydney. So we are, thank you. Courtney says, don't be scared. We love you. Tanisha says, hi. Hi. Everybody say hi, Tanisha.
Hi, Tanisha.
How you doing?
Hi.
Any questions for anybody other than me? Because y'all have heard that from me today. Anybody, any questions for anybody else?
This is your open time for a Q&A to ask us any questions since we're interacting with you guys live for the very first time. And excuse me if I might slur my words today because it's one of the things. Sipping on sangria.
Are you drinking today? No, I'm drinking water.
Girl,
I know. I should have made something.
I'm having wine.
So we got some more comments coming in. Happy Friday from Pierre to us. Happy Friday back. Home Living Friend says, who we dragging tonight? You know, we try to be good in terms of drag. We try not to do too much dragging on Live with the KHive. We keep that over on our personal pages. Hi, Stella. Chris says thumbs up for Half Turtle and Shane. Somebody says, I think it's Outstanding WC says, Kenny, why are you so damn funny and on point? Hello.
Right?
I'm just myself, you know, but I have to keep that on my own personal page. Like we said, this is Live with the KHive, so we're supposed to be representing Kamala Harris. So I'm going to be on my best behavior so that I, you know, represent for Miss Girl, because, you know, I'm supposed to be representing for the queen herself, Kamala Harris. Oh my God, let's give it up.
Right.
That's until the sangria kicks in.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions coming in, a couple of comments. So let me see. It's harder for me to scroll, and now I got to catch up on these comments.
Let me text
I can
Miss
do
Girl.
that.
Yes.
Let's try. Let me see how I can catch up. This particular view doesn't have a
Oh, how do I turn off the sound?
Just turn your volume all the way down on your phone like I did.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I shared it on Facebook.
Okay. So let me see. I'm sorry. I don't know how to scroll on this particular view. It's supposed to be embedded, and so I can't scroll back up and down. So my bad. Oh, you know what? Let me try a different. I actually have an app on my laptop. So
my son picked up Kamala Harris hat and said he does. What the hell is that?
Okay. Backstory, the name of the KHive. Well, none of us on this actually created the name of the KHive, so I don't know if anybody else has the full backstory on that. Let's see. Somebody asked us to weigh in on Brittany Cooper. No comment, because we are on our best behavior, as Kenny said, on Live with KHive. Now, come check us out on another platform, and you will 100% see the real tea.
I know someone specifically could weigh in on this because had a run-in with her today.
Talking about me?
Maya.
Maya.
Stay tuned for the after the show. Stay tuned for the after the show. Maybe we'll spill some tea. Maybe we'll end this and then we'll go live again.
Yes, I will side with Reese and say that if you want to see the after, I'll comment, and I still keep things positive no matter what. I don't know if people know that. I try to have conversations with people. It's more about dialogue exchange. So, but I'm willing to talk about that afterwards. So.
Ooh, child, these comments, Lord God, the KHive is so messy. I'm looking at
the KHive is lit. Everybody commenting is lit, and we love y'all for that.
Are y'all drinking? Question. Drink with us, because this is one of them things we're trying to, you know, bring y'all in. This is us. This is all of us.
Yeah. So, what are you all drinking tonight? Does anybody have some libations? It could be some tea. It could be some wine.
It could be some water.
Water too.
Some water.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, I gotta stay hydrated during this craziness.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to some of these questions. Pierre is saying, are those Atlanta Black cops in jail? I don't know. Does anybody know? I know that people were arrested. Were they arrested? They were charged. Right?
So they were fired. The charges were brought up against them. One of the cops, from my understanding, I know he was turning himself in either today or tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know, as far as them like being actually like in a cell and things like that, I don't think so. That they kind of go in there, you officially present yourself, and they go past that. The reason I know that is because I know his cousin. One of the cops I'm friends with his cousin.
Okay.
It's sad. Yo, look, I'm telling you, we saw the video. We got one perspective of it. How he presented it, what he was actually saying. Like, it matches up with the video, but it just throws a whole nother point of view to it. I was like, dang, bro. So it's so much more volume to just like that one angle and stuff. But.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the comments. Now, I asked what y'all was drinking. Let me tell y'all what some people are out here drinking. We got tequila, we got honey margarita, Crown Royal on ice. Crown Royal on ice with like just got
Yeah.
Okay, it's only 9 o'clock. Crown Royal on ice.
Don't do
Go
it.
ahead.
Don't
Go
do
ahead.
it, Reese.
Get your life. I'm not a singer. I can only play one. We got Girl Water. There's nothing wrong with that. I got water and wine. Okay, not like Jesus. I didn't turn it into wine. I had both
Somebody
separately.
said definitely water.
Definitely water. Yes, not mad at that. Cheers. Sangria. That's like Kenny. Kenny's drinking sangria. Dr. Pepper. Wine.
Gang, gang, gang.
Watermelon vodka, watermelon Red Bull, and simply watermelon. Oh, okay.
Lemonade and vodka. That's what I'm talking about. Great mind. Period.
Drew is with you on that one. Tina is asking, is there an echo? I don't know. Are y'all hearing the echo? We can't hear how it sounds to y'all.
No,
Let's
I
see.
can't.
Okay, do say.
Oh, look who just showed up. Look who is here.
Okay, Sydney is setting up. I hope she know that we live, Chair. But okay.
Gonna find out.
Well, yeah, we'll
Scotch,
find out in a second.
Scotch neat, smalled water. Hey, all right, okay.
I'll start without my black ass.
No, it's fine. We were doing a Q&A.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so look at her. Y'all see Sydney?
Coming with the red dress, looking like a
Put on your red dress and your high heels. Okay, the quarantine is over in Chicago because Sydney got places to go after this shit.
Clearly.
This is why she's always late right here, because she be in the mirror just serving. Like, she's in the mirror like, oh my God, look at me. Yeah.
This is the behind the scenes. This is why we wait on Sydney, because she got to get off cue.
Y'all are so funny. I promise y'all, it's just my time be off because I'm in Illinois. I'm thinking I got an extra hour, but I'll be like, oh no, they're actually talking about Eastern Standard Time. I'm like, shit. So
This is the 8th week. This is the 8th week, Sydney.
Yes.
It's been the same time.
Yes. How many weeks have we done this? Sis? Come on now.
I know.
Come on now.
It's okay, though. It's okay. We forgive you. We
I
forgive
love
you.
y'all.
Well, actually, gave us some time to talk to some folks. That's actually worked out.
Okay, so before we get to the so this is how this is gonna work, guys. I'm not hosting it. Drew is hosting.
Yeah.
Drew is hosting, but I can see all the comments, so I'm just facilitating this Q&A right now. But so the way it's gonna work is you guys chat amongst yourselves. Okay, chat amongst yourselves as we are chatting, because we met on Wednesday. We kind of map out what we're going to talk about, and if we did a Q&A during talking about this, then we would be all disjointed and it would be 3 hours. So y'all talk, y'all chat, y'all respond. After the segment or after the show, we try to keep it at an hour. We're going to have a Q&A. So that's how that's going to work tonight. So we got on so that we can kind of interact with you guys and let y'all know we're out here and we see you. But we're not going to necessarily do a Q&A as we go along and talk about the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about George Taylor. We're going to talk about George Floyd. I keep saying that. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And we're going to talk about Black women leading and, how that Black women on the ballot and supporting Black women and things like that. So those are the 3 main topics we're going to cover tonight. And after that, we're going to get to your questions. If y'all still around. Now, if you know you're not going to be around in an hour, then don't ask us the question, chat, because you're not going to be hear the answer of it unless you go back and watch the replay. So just try to keep your questions towards the end, so that way we don't have to scroll back an hour or however long to see your questions. But please comment, talks amongst yourselves. It seems like plenty of you on the different platforms. I haven't seen nobody. I've only seen 1 or 2 people on Facebook, so y'all might be just a little crew there. But yeah, so we're gonna go on ahead and get started as soon as Sydney comes back. But before we get started, I think that we can all just take a moment to recognize that today would have been Breonna Taylor's birthday, and she should be out there turning up somewhere, or maybe at home turning up on Zoom with a virtual birthday party. And unfortunately, she is no longer here because she was murdered by the police, who still have not been prosecuted. So we're all on Zoom. So I don't know how much it makes sense to do a moment of silence, but maybe we can just all in the comments just type happy birthday, Bree, justice for Bree, whatever compels you. And for us, we'll just raise a glass in Bree's honor to toast to her birthday.
And Bree looked like she was a turn-up girl. I saw a lot of her pictures. Now, this girl was giving, serving everything. Beautiful black woman. It's a shame what you did.
Yes.
I feel you.
All right, Drew. It's all on you now.
Oh, in that case, we going to get started then, you know what I'm saying? Yo. Check it out. Like we said before, it's live with the KHive. KHive stay live, whether it's night or daytime, or with live in real life, like we all right now, which means I can freestyle and it would actually be off the top of the head. I'm not going for that. Maybe in the Q&A afterwards. But let's go around the room. For those of you who don't know or have not had a chance to make our acquaintance, you're about to make our acquaintance right now. I am Drew Comments. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Anywhere they're making videos, actually just those platforms. But in any regard, we're just here to talk about all things Kamala Harris and all things wonderful. Let's go ahead and go around the room and see who we got with us. You know what, Reese? Since you're here, since you've been here, go ahead and introduce yourself, girl. Let them know.
Hey, y'all. I'm Reese, aka Black Woman Views. I'm happy to be here with you all tonight. Kenny, you need to change your tag because that's not your account name no more, child.
I'm gonna say something.
Okay, you go. I'm okay. So I'm stepping on Kenny, but anyway, TGIF. Cheers, y'all. I'm drinking wine. I'm drinking my chocolate shop wine.
Word up. That's dope. See, and like I told y'all, I'm still doing the simple lemonade and vodka. I keep it simple, keeping the ghetto red solo cup. You know how we do. Let's see. Maya Contreras in the building. Come on, Stas.
Hi. So hi, I'm Maya Contreras, as Drew just said. Maya T. Contreras across all social media. I'm drinking some rosé because I'm feeling a little rosy. I'm loving seeing Donald Trump's poll numbers plummet and some of his base being eaten away. It makes me feel a little bit better about approaching the fall time. So cheers.
Cheers. Nah, he panicking. He already know what's writers on the wall. Oh, and who we got? You know what? Just to get it, because I see it, it's starting in that lady in red. Sydney, what it do?
All right. Well, y'all already know. Y'all know what time it is. It's your girl Sydney A, and I'm wearing red today. I decided to get a little dressed up to honor Breonna Taylor's birthday. We're gonna have a virtual party for baby girl on Live with the KHive today. And that was really my goal, was like I wanted to celebrate her life. It's a party. We talked about this, or some of my followers reached out. And red, signifies, Women's History Month, as well as domestic violence awareness. So that was something that's really big to me. And in honor of the birthday girl today, I got a little Bombay. I ain't got no juice, so I'm taking it straight, y'all, because times are hard and it calls for some straight shots of Bombay. Okay, so we gonna do it. Turn up. Shout out to Breonna Taylor. Happy birthday, beautiful, and we will never forget you.
Okay, got the red dress, the blue Bombay, Bloods and Crips unite. So, speaking of red, we got and red is the rose petal. Speaking of rose, Heather Rose, how it goes though.
What's up, everybody? Heather Rose Goes on all the social media. Yeah, I'm drinking water. I already said that. I'm just, I'm sorry. I just wanted to I got to work after this, so can't be turning up.
You're like, I'm drinking water. Bird.
I mean, look, it's good for your skin. It's good for your hair. We need it, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I'm an avid fan of water, okay? Water is life. I got 2 bottles waiting for me right here, but today, we stressing out, y'all. It's a lot going on with the KHive today.
I'm gonna say like this: be somebody who don't like water, you'll run away the other way. But in any regard,
big
Kenny, I don't even know, man. How you feeling? Because the Twitter name, there's a whole story. You got some tea. What's up?
What's up, KHive? Y'all know who it is. It's Kenny, formerly known as Kenny's Eyes, formerly known as Kenny Boo 93, formerly known as King of Clapbacks, who is now Dixie Jesus 93. Lord Jesus, they keep getting me. Right now, I am drinking Capriccio Sangria because it'll get you lit real quick.
Period.
So, y'all already know who it is. Please follow me while I'm still available on Twitter. And remember, keep it a secret. Don't tell everybody where I'm at because they coming for me. They don't like me.
Yo, Kenny be getting suspended so much. He be having Twitter office hours, bro. He be like, look, I'm gonna be good for the next 3 days, and then y'all need to follow this app because they come. That's what's up, though, bro. Oh, that's what's up.
So wait, can I say one more thing? So I'm looking at the chat, so I will try to reply to certain comments, not verbally, but I'll try to reply in the chat room to you guys. So if I'm looking at the chat versus looking there, it's because I'm reading you guys' comments and replying.
All right. Like I said, we live, man. I'm just so happy to have a live studio audience, man. Look at y'all just showing us so much love. So why don't we go ahead and just dig right on into it? So what I actually want to start off with is Senator Ed Markey actually introduced not just Senator Ed Markey by himself, but he actually introduced a resolution along with Senator Cory Booker, Senator Kamala Harris as well. Bernie Sanders was also signed on as well, or this resolution to abolish something known as qualified immunity for law enforcement. And so I guess the first question would be, what exactly is qualified immunity? Basically, what qualified immunity is a judge-made doctrine that protects law enforcement officers from being sued in their personal capacity and being held personally liable for their excessive use of force or brutality. Typically, what happens is the department or the agency will actually absorb any type of lawsuit that's actually brought before the officer. What this resolution is actually stating that this actually qualified immunity needs to be removed. So it was actually passed the Civil Rights Act of 1871. Congress expressly allowed for individuals to sue public officials, including police officers, who deprived them of their civil rights. But in the end of the century, and that's like 150 years really since then, the Supreme Court has gutted the landmark law. It's created and expanded the defense of what they call qualified immunity for police officers. So basically that type of expression or that type of protection for law enforcement in that case. So what Senator Ed Markey was able to do, and one of the best things about this particular resolution is that you're now seeing a resolution that language that's typically saved or reserved for back rooms, and well, we know how it works and that's how it goes, actually officially being recognized in Congress. So what you have is, he mentioned that if you actually look at the resolution, it says recognizing that the murder of George Floyd by officers of the Minneapolis Police Department is the result of pervasive and systemic racism that cannot be dismantled without, among other things, proper redress in court. It even goes on to say that whereas Black people in the United States are disproportionately the victims of shootings, chokeholds, and other uses of excessive force by law enforcement officers. Mentions also whereas the use of excessive force during a term of imprisonment constitutes the use of cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which actually prohibits that. This actual resolution recognizes and acknowledges the legal and racial inequities inherent in the judicial doctrine of qualified immunity as the doctrine is applied to law enforcement officers, aka police. I also recognize and acknowledges that the doctrine of qualified immunity rests on a mistaken judicial interpretation of a statute enacted by Congress, and it recognizes and acknowledges that to correct that mistake, judicial interpretation, or that mistaken judicial interpretation, rather, Congress should amend the section, it's actually section 1979, I believe, of the revised statutes to eliminate the qualified immunity defense for law enforcement officers as that defense exists. And this was as of the first when this was actually presented. So, all that in English, basically the vibranium wall, the vibranium protection that has been placed over police officers to give them a little bit more insurance or assurance when they're committing or using excessive force or committing police violence. Now, as this resolution seeks to do, is remove that particular protection. So now you have to think about, they might sue me for real, like personally, like my wife, not the department shelling out $3 million. Me. And most police officers, they make enough money to do that. And this is where we stand now with Ed Markey. So I actually want to just, and obviously him and Kamala Harris would be the forerunners on that. So it's an interesting time, where we're able to see, the awakening. I want to be careful with that because I'm hoping that this is not a flash in the pan response to a viral video, and that this is something that's actually going to be sustained. That's what my hope is. But my hope is that this is an awakening to folk who have tried to turn a blind eye for so long that you just can't do it anymore. But Reese, reaction?
Yeah, I think that it's so important that these sorts of tangible resolutions or legislations are put forward to help us move simultaneously with the protests towards solutions, right? Because the point of this is to make change, is to make systemic change. And the system is a legislative body of work. It's an executive body of work across the local, state, and federal levels. And so that is what has been shielding these police officers for so long from any kind of culpability. And it has put prosecutors in a bad place. It's put, law enforcement, maybe people, mayors, things of that nature in a bad place. So I think that it's really important to start to see these tangible steps that are being taken. In addition to, Kamala Harris signing on to that particular, or spearheading that particular resolution along with Ed Markey and Senator Cory Booker, we saw today or yesterday her absolutely impassioned and righteously indignant speech defending her anti-lynching legislation. So Kamala Harris actually started this anti-lynching legislative push in 2018. It's something that had been tried 200 times and failed. And finally, it was passed unanimously in the Senate in December. Fast forward to February 2019. It was early 2019, let's just say that. Passed unanimously again. Then in the Senate. Then it was taken up recently in the House, passed with a couple of people that did not approve it. But the problem is the bill that passed, the anti-lynching legislation that passed in the House, was not identical to Kamala Harris's, Cory Booker's, and Tim Scott's legislation. And so there had to be some sort of reconciliation. And so that's the legislative thing that came up this week. Yesterday, in particular, Rand Paul tried to weaken the anti-lynching legislation with an amendment, which required even more gory, an even more gory threshold for what would be considered a lynching. And Kamala was pissed, rightfully so. So was Cory Booker, but this is live with KHive, so we're gonna talk about Kamala. She gave a speech for 6 minutes that every single person needs to absolutely watch. And the reason why it's so relevant, and the reason why I'm bringing up lynching, is because what happened to George Floyd is a lynching. It was a public execution. It was a violation of his constitutional rights. Number one, if he was accused of a crime, you have a right to a fair and expedient trial. That's in the Constitution. If he was guilty, you still have a right to not have cruel and unusual punishment. 8 minutes and 46 seconds of a slow public execution is a lynching. We had Ahmaud Arbery, who was lynched because he was chased for blocks, hit with a vehicle, we found that out in the hearing, and shot. And the killer stood over his body and called him the N-word. And so Kamala Harris, who's the only Black woman sitting U.S. Senator, the only Black woman in this century, we're 20 years into it now, it's the 20th year, who's been in the Senate, who's been on the Senate floor as a senator, Kamala Harris, who has made anti-lynching a crusade of hers, invokes the sin of lynching and also makes it relevant to what's going on right now with George Floyd, with Ahmaud Arbery, and invoking Breonna Taylor, invoking Ida B. Wells. And so when we go hard for Kamala, it's because she goes hard for us, because you are not hearing other people step to the mic. I've seen some of the reaction from Lisa Murkowski. She's concerned. She's struggling with how things are happening. She's listening. Do y'all want somebody who needs training wheels? Do y'all want somebody who has to be trained, who has to just listen? That's what they have to offer, is listening. I'm listening to your pain. I don't need you to listen. I need you to step aside so that those of us who actually know our pain, those of us who actually know what needs to be done, can take the lead. That's what I want to see from you. And so that's what I just want to emphasize, is that we have a person at Kamala Harris that intimately knows and empathizes with these struggles, but it's not just about empathy. It's also about solutions, because that's what's next, because eventually people will go back to their routines. And I appreciate that in this moment, that this momentum that's being, developed by the protesters, it's not just for prosecutions, because George Floyd's killers have all been arraigned. Breonna Taylor's has not. We still need justice for her. The cops are still killing people during the protests. We need justice for them. The cops are still brutalizing people during the protests. We need justice for them. But taking advantage, and not in any kind of, exploitive way, but taking advantage of the moment to actually put forth or start to put forth legislative solutions. And that's what we're trying to highlight today, in particular what Kamala Harris is doing.
You know what? It's interesting because I know the anti-lynching bill, that was a big deal because it actually passed. Like, it actually had passed the Senate. We were excited about it. But Bobby Rush wanted to have Emmett Till's name on the bill. And so it was like, hey, we want to actually have Emmett Till's name on the bill because, I mean, what are we? So we're 30 years after Rodney King. We're 70 years after Emmett Till. And he just thought it was important to do that. And I know that's when Rand Paul decided, well, think like your heart has to be taken out of your chest and your lungs need to be stepped on before. It's like, bro, like this is too much though. This is weird. But from what I understand about Rand Paul, this is what he does, right? This is just his way to be relevant. So just start capping, just to act like there's a problem, but really not. But nobody likes him. Heard somebody threw him through a plate glass window in college, but I think Sally Albright told that story on Twitter. Anyway, reactions. Anyone want to comment?
Yeah, I just want to say quickly is that what I hope everyone understands is that this is about accountability. Like, we just want the police to be held accountable for their actions. And if you're not going to do that, then why should they continue to get funding when they're out here killing people? I mean, like Reese said, we have numerous instances. I mean, we're in a pandemic. I almost cursed. My mom is probably watching this, so let me just. But we're in a pandemic and Black people are still getting killed. So the issue is clearly racism is a problem in this country. And for the people who are supposed to protect and serve, they're not doing that. So why should they continue to get funding to what, kill people?
You know, you make up a good point because one of the things, one of the earlier lessons I learned from watching Saturday morning cartoons was when Peter Parker's Uncle Ben told him, great power comes great responsibility. Hey, I grew up watching cartoons, y'all sue me. But it's actually true. You know, with great power, when you're a police officer, you have the literal power of the government with you. Along with that is great responsibility and great accountability. That's all people ask. And so, you know, that's this. You mentioned something about funding too, but before because I kind of want to talk about that. But did anyone else want to touch on this before we get off topic here?
Only thing I'll say is, I'm gonna just say what Kamala Harris is always saying, is that nobody's above the law.
Word.
And everybody needs to be held accountable. And for somebody like Kamala Harris, who's always been a champion of holding people accountable for the bullshit that they do, being just frank as it is, we would need somebody like Kamala Harris who's gonna dig into these motherfuckers' ass to make sure that they get what the fuck is going, what we need to get done. So that's all I gotta say on that.
All right, that was concise to the point. But specifically though, I'm so glad I put that out there because when you said that, it almost went to a tangent, but I'm gonna jump on that now. You talk about defunding, but also the conversation around policing has also been the demilitarization of police. Now remember, one of the things about that is that prior to 1997, you didn't really have militarized police. That wasn't really a thing in the United States. It wasn't until 2 bank robbers, 2 white males, went into a Bank of America in North Hollywood in 1997, armed in body armor that they saved up for, and high-powered rifles, AK-47, as a matter of fact, with military-grade style armor-piercing rounds. And single-handedly, they were able to hold off over 300 LAPD officers. Let me say that again. 2 white men, 2 young white boys, were able to outgun and embarrass the LAPD for hours. And so after that, there was one account, in fact, one of the officers, marksman, he had a shotgun, he came up, had dead to right, shot his buckshot shotgun at one of the bank robbers. It bounced right off the body armor. He looked at it and kept smiling. So after that instance, where no officers were killed, the only people that actually died were the robbers, is when the militarization actually took place. And the logic behind that is that you don't want a criminal element that can embarrass and really just outgun your actual police force. And so what happened was surplus military equipment was actually given to police departments, local, state, the police departments. They were getting things like Bearcats, military grade body armor, military grades weaponry, and other pieces of equipment. And so it stayed that way. The issue with that is, however, the use of these military equipment. Again, great power comes great responsibility. Once that got out of hand, President Obama decided to, and Eric Holder decided to look into the demilitarization of police departments. And that's where actually began. Obviously, when Trump got into office, a lot of that got undone. But Sid, I wanted to mention to you, or kick it to you, in regards to demilitarization and just and even be funny, but the attitude of conversations around it.
Yeah, absolutely, Drew. And I'm so glad that y'all kicking it back to me. This is something that I have been in large conversation about, largely on my TL, especially as it pertains to, what criminal justice reform really looks like from not just a policing standpoint, but also a standpoint of just what the future of criminal justice looks like in the United States as a form of restorative justice. And this is something that Kamala Harris has been really, really big on throughout her career. We see this time and time again with her Back on Track program, which was the first of its kind in the United States. But the problem that we have with policing in general and just criminal justice in general is that the criminal justice system is not designed to serve justice. It's designed, in my opinion, to keep a form of order. And we see this time and time again. There's a difference between restorative justice and law and order, especially when a majority of these laws that we're ordering and following come from a standpoint of or they come in a racial lens, a racial background. I mean, we saw this conversation time and time again with the conversation of super predators. And I bring this up a lot when I talk about the ways in which super predators were weaponized against Black people. There was never a racial component to the word super predators in its core form. Super predators to me could be predators that shoot up college campuses, like the one that I attended in 2010. Northern Illinois University was one of the universities that was hit with a mass shooting, which started shortly thereafter Columbine. We saw we see these instances of this mass murder happening, and what I saw was a media that aligned the term super predators with Black people or Black criminals or Latino criminals or whatever. And again, that just goes to show, the ways in which the criminal justice system is not designed to look at everyone who commits the crime in the same light, in the same way. A white person committing a crime is not looked at in the same lens as a Black person or a Latino person or an Asian person or any person of color. In particular, does not get the same kind of treatment. They don't get the same kind of benefit of doubt or any of these things as the most violent of white perpetrators. And so there in itself lies a system that falters because because it's so biased. No one entrusts themselves within the system. Because we see time and time again instances of these crimes being casted as different when they're committed by people who are not white, when that's absolutely not the case. So what we're looking for with restorative justice, and what Kamala Harris has always brought to the table, is equity, not just equality. You know, we need to move away from the criminal justice system being a pipeline to cheap labor, and I think that all of us have to take some responsibility in creating this kind of landscape, especially in a capitalist society when demand is so high, and we're not questioning where where these fast things are coming from. You know, we get fast food, we have fast fashion, we have fast everything, but we don't ever question where this comes from and why it's so easy for these companies to say yes to prison labor and yes to these things, because they know that they have a demand for it. They know that people don't want to wait. They know that. So there's a societal element to it. There's a cultural element to what we're seeing, and the ways in which we could get to a fairer society, a fairer justice system, criminal justice system, is by, being introspective into ourselves and our own habits. Like, am I willing to wait 8 to 9 weeks, for a garment that may not come from, prison labor or things of that nature. So with that being said, my idea of the future of criminal justice in the United States, and I think Kamala Harris is also aligned with my ideology here, is harm reduction. Mirroring, a criminal justice system such as the one that has been implemented in Switzerland. In my opinion, places like Angola, in Louisiana and New Orleans, should not exist in the year 2020. Simple as that. There should never be an instance where a prison mirrors that of a slave plantation in 2020. I think that's absurd. I think that prisoners should be treated as humans. I don't like the terms animals or animalistic when we're talking about those involved in the prison system. We need to start changing the language that we use. These are still people. I don't think people should be behind cages. I think that sends a really, really strong message. Prisons should not be inhumane. The inhumane conditions in prisons doesn't deter crime. And we need more, sociological analysts looking at, what causes someone to commit a crime, so that we're not saying things like, poverty, and bad circumstance makes someone more predisposition to commit a crime than someone who has money, someone born into money, because being born into money didn't deter Brock Turner from sexually assaulting a young woman who could not consent for herself. That's absurd. This person comes from a 2-parent household and has a ton of money and was an Ivy League student who was given a slap on the wrist because a judge decided that prison was too hard of a sentence for him. But why is prison too hard of a sentence for the Brock Turners of the world, but not the Jordan Morgans or the Trayvon Martins? Why is death okay for those children, but for white children we're seeing that this is too harmful for them? They shouldn't be seeing these images. And I think that if we're going to have a conversation about restorative justice, we need to talk about it from a cultural standpoint, and an overall standpoint, and this needs to be a conversation that white people are willing to have with themselves and their families about the ways in which they treat Black children, the ways in which they treat their Black coworkers, their Black neighbors. This needs to be a cultural reset for the United States. That's when justice can start to be given back to the most marginalized. We need to have a talk about culture and how we create a culture of harm in this society, and who we're harming. And, if we're willing to part ways with some of the things that we love and some of the traditions that we have. And
you made a good point. I actually wanted to jump, because you made something. I want to speak something really quickly.
For sure.
Jump back into it. Kenny, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Okay. So I had to write down some notes, child. This sangria has already kicked in, so I'm trying to make
Lord,
sure.
the Bombay shots are coming in.
I had to write some of the stuff down because there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to say. So anyways, so let me tell y'all something, especially for the naysayers who's still saying that right now we don't need somebody who has a criminal justice background for some unknown reason. Let me tell y'all one thing. when it comes to outgunning police, one thing that I love about Kamala Harris is she actually supports mandatory buybacks, unlike a lot of other people. So there wouldn't be a situation to where there is this false choice in picking, well, the police have to have these guns. The police have to have all this armor. If we actually have mandatory buybacks, there would be no need to have this militarization of the police. So that's number one. All right.
Thank you.
So go to my second note here.
Come on,
when
Kenny.
it comes to police officers, what they need to know is about de-escalation. They need to be able to talk to this situation. There's a lot of situations where they're dealing with mental health, and there's a lot of people that literally have mental health issues who may not be coherent in understanding what they're asking of them.
Thank you.
But one thing about Kamala Harris, she's also been a very avid supporter when it comes to being able to talk about mental health and issues. So I'm bringing it right back to Kamala again. So let me tell you another thing. When it comes to police officers, what we need to actually have is do more community policing. So what I believe, and this is why I feel this needs to be a mandatory for all police officers or overall. Police officers need to know if they're going to be assigned to a particular neighborhood, why are these police officers not knocking on door to door, trying to get to know the people that they're supposed to be serving? So they know how to serve these people better. That is what real community police officing looks like when you actually know the community, where you actually be able to talk to them. Oh, you'll be able to understand if somebody does have a disability, somebody does have a mental illness. Because what shouldn't be happening is what happened recently, having police officers take down a 90-year-old Black woman. I don't want to see it. I just don't. I don't want to see that at all. And then the other thing that they need to do is implicit racial bias training. That's something Kamala Harris has tackled ever since she was Attorney General. She actually went all the way to New York and talked to other district attorneys about implicit bias training from other states outside of California. So that's another reason why we need somebody like Kamala Harris who's going to attack situations like this, especially in the climate that we're in right now. This is a serious situation. We need somebody on the inside who has the insight, who knows the criminal justice system to actually change it for us, because at this time, people are tired. I'm tired. I am so tired of seeing this. Every single week has been something new. Every week, I'm outraged, and a lot of other people are outraged. That's why we're out here screaming Black Lives Matter. Let's not get this confused. And the other thing, and this is my last point, I promise I'm gonna be done, is requirement for body cams, something that Kamala Harris also championed as well, to keep those body cams on so that we have full transparency. Because right now we don't trust the police officers. That's why I'm so quick. As soon as I see a Black person get pulled over by the police, I'm pulling out my camera, I'm recording, because I don't trust them. And that's it. And that's all I gotta say. My time, I yield my time.
Awesome.
My bad. We live, baby. That's how we do it. You understand? No, but listen. One thing I want to say is, make sure you pull that phone out before the cop shows up. Don't wait for them to be alongside the car and then go in your pocket. Like, they don't know. It don't look good. I ain't taking chances, but we all know that. If you Black, you already
absolutely.
They told you. I'm like,
I just want to make this quick note before my backdrop hates on me one more time. And I just want to end off on what I was saying, because this is a really, really important topic for all of us. And what I wanted to just end this with was just saying that, you know, there needs to be a conversation about the ways in which we all look at criminal justice, you know, and that means letting go of, you know, some of the stereotypes that we have internalized about criminals. You know, we you know, police are going to have to start acting like, you know, customer service, like taxpayers are their customers. And like Reese said in earlier in the segment, everyone has a, you know, has a constitutional right to a fair trial. We are not judge, jury, and executioner. And that and police officers need to be empowered to understand that, and they need to be empowered to point out, you know, these grievances and, you know, these ethics issues when they arise. And we as a community, all of us need to empower our police to come forward when they see these issues. You know, we can't, you know, there's going to have to be a significant cultural shift if we're going to see some real justice in this country. Otherwise, it's going to be pure anarchy.
I feel that indeed. So I'm going to speak to what you made a point earlier about what Kamala's focused on was making sure that within the criminal justice system, and I'm including law enforcement within the criminal justice system because that's just the first step. Typically, it's who you meet first. But in regard, minimizing harm, specifically when it comes to the militarization of police, the equipment and such, when we come toward the conversation around demilitarizing, we want to make sure that number one is that the proper departments are demilitarized intelligently. Local Hicktown PDs probably don't need 4 armored tanks and and high grade MI6 Mission Impossible level spy equipment and that sort of thing. However, we also know that some departments, police departments, larger police departments, have more of a function than just being quote unquote armed security guards for the city, is that they are heavily in departments of anti-terrorism. They have departments that are devoted to international operations as well, monitoring threats that may be not only foreign as well as some domestic as well. So people like the NYPD, for instance, we found out this week they have a $6 billion budget, it's nearly $6 billion. But if you understand what they actually do, then you're like, oh, I guess that makes sense why they have such a large budget. Still, we probably could, spare a few of those dollars and we'll put them to more restorative programs and initiatives and such. But again, demilitarizing is definitely something that we want to make sure we go about the smart way. And Kenny, when you mentioned that, and also militarization within the idea of making sure that when police are using military tactics, because remember, police forces are quasi-military or paramilitary organizations. That's really the way that they're actually defined nowadays. When they are doing things like, let's say, no knock warrants, and when they are going to be exercising operations like that, make sure that intelligence is there. Reese, Breonna Taylor, thank you for the early shout out. I know it's her birthday today, and we definitely have her in our hearts. But where it stands now, would you comment on where the States is at the moment?
Drew, just quickly, I think Maya had something that she wanted to add.
Oh, Maya, you had something?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'll just be really quick so we can move on to the next topic. One, I live in New York City. New York City does have a massive police budget, around $6 billion. I want people to understand when we're looking at the massive budgets that the United States has for the military and for the police, that there's several reasons for that. And a lot of them are not for good reasons. Remember that there are companies that make the Kevlar, there are companies that make the shields, that make the batons. I want people to look at the narratives of what they're pushing in order to get some of those companies to make more profit. So these all work together. These things are all interconnected, especially since when we're talking about protests, we're talking about white supremacy. We should be looking at the white supremacy that's being served from the purchase of those military outfits. And of course, in New York City, there is plenty of money for, if you took $100 million out of our budget and put it to something, the police would still be left with $5.9 billion, dollars. So I want people to look at this. Sydney had talked a little bit about stereotypes that come out. She talked about super predators. Stereotypes, pushing those stereotypes also serves a purpose to jail more people, to give justifications for jailing, to give justification for police violence. All of these things are interconnected. So I want people to see how those all work together. Big businesses are serving the Kevlars. Stereotypes are giving the reasons for police brutality and violence towards people. And I just wanted to say lastly that white people and Black people commit crimes at around the same rate. If you look at the numbers are all there. They're all there. The FBI has the numbers, they're published, you can see it. It's just that Black people are disproportionately, sure, of course, the Black people are just disproportionately jailed for that. So you look at marijuana in particular, you see that white people are smoking marijuana and selling marijuana just as much as any BIPOC group. So I want people to look at how these, as people become more more of an activist, more active. I want everyone to see how all of these things are woven together. They usually serve a purpose, and it's usually to serve just a few very rich white people right here at the top. So I'm done.
And what's familiar with Tony Stark? Oh, I gotta stop using superhero references. But you're absolutely right, though. There are the people who actually create these particular weapons, sell them at a high price. So then the budget is higher. So the people who own it, who actually create them, make more money. It is interwoven. You're absolutely right. Reese.
Shout out to J.D. Pritzker.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, okay. I didn't know if everybody had any questions. Reese, Breonna Taylor. How are we doing with that at the moment?
Yeah, so we earlier in the show we took a moment to salute Breonna Taylor. She would have been 27 years old today. It's just unfathomably young to be murdered, executed by the police. And I don't know if you guys saw, Senator Kamala Harris today did an IG Live with Brittany Packnett, who, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, she's one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, right? I didn't get that impression from thin air. I'm pretty sure she is, or is. I know she's deeply involved with it if she's not one of the founders. Anyway, they had an interesting discussion, but one of the things that, and Kamala had mentioned this before, she's actually spoken with Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer. And that was very heartening to me because I know the warmth and sincerity of Kamala Harris. I know how soothing she can be, and I know how genuine she is. And so I'm certain that she found the words to bring some comfort to Miss Tamika Palmer. I don't know if you guys remember during the campaign after the debate in Texas, her Kamala and Sandra Bland's mother had that really warm embrace, and Kamala said, "We must speak her name." And so it's one of those things that, to me, I've been following the case. We had Kenneth Walker, who was Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, who was charged, in my opinion, in a retaliatory fashion, because this is what they do when they kill Black people. The people that are the witnesses, they trump up charges. Now, Kenneth Walker did shoot back, but at this point, the cops have a no-knock warrant, right? They're barging in at 1 a.m. shooting. And so it's completely unjustifiable to me that, you would, not knowing what the hell is going on, would shoot back. I mean, you come to my house at 1 a.m., you liable to get shot. So that's not unreasonable, but they charged him with attempted murder, then with the outcry, they dropped those charges. They're still reserving the right to bring those charges back. But today there was a lot of attention to Breonna Taylor's death, to her life. She was an EMT. She was an amazing person. She did not deserve what happened to her. Nobody does, really. And I'm very heartened by the outpouring of support for her. I know that a lot of the discussion has been about how Black women don't get the same amount of attention, to get the same amount of outcry for the injustices that Black women endure. And so today, I think that it's really, really important to emphasize that we're still waiting for justice for Breonna Taylor. And there is an investigation. One of the things that Senator Kamala Harris did, along with Lucy McBath, who lost her son to gun violence, Jordan Davis, they paired up to send a letter to AG Barr and demand an independent DOJ investigation. That is actually happening. And so that's good news. It's not enough, but it's a start. And so there has to be that continued pressure on the Louisville Police Department, on the DAs. I want to shout out Attica Scott, who's a Black woman. She's a state representative representing Louisville down in Kentucky. She is really pushing really hard, speaking truth about what's happening. There's a candidate, so the Kentucky primaries haven't happened. And I believe it's Charles Booker. And you guys in the comments, I'm looking at the comments, you can correct me if anybody else here wants to chime in. He's running against Amy McGrath, right? Amy McGrath is a white woman and she's been getting all of the attention. And full disclosure, Charles Booker supported Bernie. And y'all know how I feel about Bernie supporters, Chad. I don't have no love for Bernie supporters. Even if you Black, I'm not really rocking with you. However, in this case, I've seen that he has been on the front lines protesting, and he shared a video from the debate. And Amy McGrath was asked about, has she protested? Has she basically been involved? And she's basically like, I don't know, him and Holland, and kind of like she has other things to do and she's busy. And I was disgusted by that. I was disgusted by it because I think you owe us more. You owe your constituents more. And obviously, Black people have a lot of legislative power in Kentucky, and um, so it was really interesting to see her, a person who has been lauded so much about potentially going up against Mitch McConnell, really copping out, and Charles Booker stepping up. So that's really all I really want to say about that. Rest in peace, Breonna. Happy birthday, Breonna. Thank you to everybody who's out in the streets, everybody who's bringing awareness to this. And I hope that the push that Kamala Harris and Lucy McBath have made for the DOJ, I hope that will bear some fruit if the investigations, if there even is an investigation in Louisville, does not.
I also want to send a rest in peace to David McCaddy, who was actually killed by Louisville Police Department actually during the protest. By all accounts, wonderful brother. Had his own business, entrepreneur for food, made sure that police officers even ate for free. And the story from Louisville Police Department is that they were attacked, had to return fire. This is what they said, and shoot into the crowd. Unfortunately, our brother McCaddy was killed there. So I just want to go ahead and just send our thoughts, prayers, and just comfort to his family as well. That's actually very depressing too to think about. But we keep getting just one thing after another. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know what's going on. In any regard, though, just with as it relates to just the protections of people, especially when it comes to Breonna Taylor, but who is, like again, by all accounts, wonderful woman, would have been turned 27 today. But it's not just her as a cisgender woman, but there's also trans women as well, who we see under attack, needing protection as well. Kenny, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about that? You're on mute, bro.
You're mute, Kenny. You're mute.
That's how you get
We can't edit that out. Of course, I'm gonna bring the ghetto to the live of the KHive. Sweet Jesus, it's always me. But anyways, so what I want to talk about today is protection of Black trans women, especially what happened literally on Monday in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with Ayanna Dior. Apparently, according to a few sources, that there was a fender bender, and it equated to 15 cisgender men attacking a trans woman in a gas station. It made no sense. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. I don't care exactly if there was a fender bender or not. I've never seen a fender bender actually equate to somebody literally getting jumped by 15 different men. There's no excuse. That was literally a hate crime. And at the end of the day, one thing I want to understand is a lot of people don't shine a light when it comes to protection of trans women. Last year alone, 26 transgender people were killed violently, and out of 91% of them were Black women. So I don't want to hear that. One thing I love about Kamala Harris and why I go so hard for her is because she doesn't show up and don't say names when she wants to vote or when she's running for president. She actually puts it into action. And one thing that Kamala Harris actually went to work for, something that actually has some meat in it, that actually did something, was actually ending the gay and trans panic defense, where they would actually be able to kill and use a defense saying that I was scared, I was sticker shock when I found out they were gay or they was actually a transgender woman. One thing about Kamala Harris is she's actually been there for our community. I can't say that for anybody else. I can't. There's just no comparison. There's nothing. One thing we need to do is really start equating and understanding the protections for Black trans women, or just trans women in general, no matter what color you are. But we need to protect these women, because at the end of the day, they deserve every right to live, just like I and everybody else on this panel deserves to live. They shouldn't be equated to being jumped at a gas station for a fender bender. It shouldn't have happened. And I know a lot of things is going on right now in the world, but there's no excuse whatsoever for what's happening to a transgender woman. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the last thing I want to say is that right now, we are literally looking into what's going on about our future and how we're going to actually lead into November. And Joe, you're going to really have to literally look at yourself and look at the receipts. You got to really ask yourself, who's going to be able to talk to somebody on this level and actually be able to pick up the torch if something were to happen? And the only person I can think of is Kamala Harris. With criminal justice reform, when it comes to LGBTQ rights, she's the only option. There's no other option, because nobody has done nothing. And that's all I'm going to say, at least on that, before I go into a tangent, because, child, I could drag somebody today.
We know that's for real, no cap. But I mean,
can I just say, absolutely,
yes.
Black trans lives matter too. And as Kenny pointed out, there's been so much violence and terrorism and brutality against them. And that's just something that we cannot pick and choose whose life within the Black community matters. All of our Black lives matter, and we need to stand with all of our brothers and sisters and non-binary folks.
Thank you.
Period.
And when we're talking about civil rights, I mean, I would challenge everybody to go onto Senate.gov, look at the legislation and who is consistently on these bills, whether she introduced them or whether she's co-sponsored them. Kamala Harris's name is everywhere, because these are issues where she's not just going out, like Kenny said, she's not just going out there and just naming names. Okay, great. I'm happy you could memorize some names. No, she's actually putting forth legislation that is designed to protect us. And I say us because all of us are a part of all of our, outside of just being Black, we're also part of other communities as well. And so, like Reese said, we all matter. None of us should be dying like this. So again, everybody go onto Senate.gov. You can go to Kamala Harris's website, harris.senate.gov, and look at the legislation. She's doing the work.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead, Kenny.
Okay, I don't know. Who wants to go? I'm just going to say this. One thing about Kamala Harris is she walks the walk, she talks the talk. She's not out for no photo shoots, no tea, no shade. She don't need any camera people to show up. When it matters, she puts the legislation down, okay? She's not doing it for clout. She's not doing it for likes. She's not doing it because it's trending and it's cute for Twitter and TikTok and all these other things. She's doing it because she gives a damn. That's all I got to say. I'm not gonna throw any more shade. I'm not gonna throw a tree at somebody, but you know who I'm talking about.
Whatever.
The one thing I just wanted to say is, I think when we look at what Kenny pointed out, it brings to mind that we as Black people, let me just say this loud and clear, we want safe communities. We don't want to be terrorized by anybody. So I appreciate Kamala's work in actually defending our Black lives, regardless of who the perpetrator is. You know, if you're a trans woman, if you're a trans man, if you're a Black person, whatever, a murder victim, if you are a sexual assault victim, we want to be safe in our communities. We don't want to be brutalized because of a fender bender or because somebody's prejudiced against us. And so I think that we cannot turn this into a situation, or we're not going to allow people to turn this into a situation where the conversation suggests that Black people don't want safe communities, that Black people don't understand the role of law enforcement in providing a safe community. Now, we don't believe that they're the solution, the be all end all. We don't believe in having police officers out there, beating us up. We don't believe in prosecutors out there trumping up charges. But when a situation like what happened to Ayanna happens, we want there to be consequences for that. We want to know that those people don't get to go out and brutalize another person again without consequence.
Absolutely. Lock their ass up. Throw them under the
Yeah.
jail. If we don't like police officers brutalizing Black people, why would we do it to Black people, especially the marginalized like trans women? It just makes no sense. Don't do it. Two wrongs don't make right. I don't give a damn what the hell is going on. We need to start respecting each other and requesting more.
And honestly, Kenny, the assertion, and to your point as well, Reese, the assertion that Black people don't want to be safe in our communities, and that we don't understand the role of law enforcement and what they can do, and that, you know, that what they're doing in our communities is wrong and completely different from what they're doing in other communities, is inherently anti-Black. And I think that that's something that we don't really talk about. You know, there's a certain level of anti-Blackness that states that these communities are so, they're so poor. These people are uncivilized. They're animalistic. So just let them fight and hurt amongst each other. As long as we keep the riffraff over there across the tracks, and as long as it doesn't bleed over here. I was born and raised in segregated Chicago, and that's how the Midwest truly is. There's a reason that Black Midwesterners are not recognized as a part of the voting bloc. Because we're literally segregated out of the conversation. The South Side is Black, the North Side is white, and people know this from Chicago. So again, it goes back to the conversation of changing the culture and changing the ways in which we all look at things. And there is an anti-Black underbelly to thinking and believing that Black people don't want to be safe in their homes.
Certainly understand that. You're absolutely right. As far as the idea that we don't like law enforcement, or we don't like structure. Matter of fact, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said one time that the reason there's violence in the Black community is because of lack of morals. That was what she said, literally right there from the White House press podium. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It is anti-Black. But regardless, when those Black people, our first introduction to law enforcement is like grandma, our mom. You either gonna go inside or you gonna stay outside. You're gonna be coming back through my door. Close it. That's a law right there, and she will enforce the law if you get out of line. So we are introduced at an early age to structured rules, understanding things. So the idea that we don't like that, we just don't want to be brutalized. That's the truth. We don't mind structure. We love structure. We need structure. What we don't want is brutalization. What we don't want is racial profiling. But again, Heather made a wonderful point. She said, "Look at go to the website. Kamala Harris's name on all this legislation, all those bills, all those movements. And she's there. She doesn't wait for permission. She just goes. She just does it. Black women lead. Period."
You don't have to ask permission to lead. That's what she says all the time. That's my quote.
Ask permission to lead, and she is the woman that does. She's the Black woman who's leading. Matter of fact, Heather, speaking of Black women leading, did you want to speak to that at the moment, or?
I think Maya's gonna go ahead. Go ahead, Maya. Go ahead.
I think Maya wants you to go.
I just want to make sure, because Heather always has something wonderful to say, and I don't want to talk over her, so I just want to make sure. Okay. So I want to touch on Kenny, because I love my trans brothers and sisters, non-binaries, okay? And there's a wonderful quote, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's by a wonderful woman named Lilla Watson. She's Indigenous Australian, specifically Aboriginal. And she said, "Your liberation is bound with mine." So in our society, in our community, in America, trans people have been the most marginalized, disability community, the most marginalized. And I've said this earlier in the week, and I want to make sure people understand that marginalized does not mean less than. They are not less than, they're not weaker, they're not somehow, no, it just means marginalized means pushed to the margins. It means they have been pushed out of power, okay? So we don't want people in the margins anymore. We're gonna pull them out of the margins. We wanna make sure that we have equity, that we have equal access. That's what we want, okay? So our liberation is bound with everyone who's marginalized, okay? I also wanna touch on something that Reese said earlier. We wanna connect the protests to voting, to direct action. And right now, we see a lot of violence directed towards Black communities. We see a lot of anti-Blackness. We've always known it. We've all seen it. Everyone on this panel could talk about the time when they were 2, 3, 4 years old and they first experienced racism. It's something that it's in our minds every single day. For those of you who are new, welcome. For the first time who are going, oh my God, this is crazy. Welcome, because we got the manual day one. We came out the womb and they were like, here is your set of racisms that you're going to be dealing with. And we're, yeah, I don't know what to say. Okay. So now that we're here, now that we have your attention, now that you see that's going on, this is why we love Kamala, by the way, because she's not brand new either. Okay. And this is why we support her. We support the policies that she's saying, because she understands intimately what the policies are that will help us achieve equity and equality and equal access. All right. And because of that, this small section that I will say very quickly is about voting Black women into office. Specifically, the Black women that right now that we need to have in office are people like Kamala Harris. Obviously, I would like to see her. We want to see her as vice president, because why? She's not brand new. She'll know what to do. She's ready day one. Okay. 2, we need Lucy McBath. She's going to be the fight of her life right now in Georgia. They're spending millions of dollars to go against her. I think Karen Handel, who is a terrible person. I'm going to say that. Karen Handel is a terrible person, and she's fine with voter suppression. So let's make sure that we're sending money to Lucy McBath. I also want to make sure that people know one of the best women that's in Congress right now that's running, is having a tough election, is Lauren Underwood. She's Illinois' 14th congressional district. I've talked about her before. I'm a huge fan. She's also my brother's representative out there. She's been one of the most effective freshmen in Congress right now. I want to make sure that people know that and vote her in and can continue to support her. And I also want people to know that Sabrina Fulton, who is Trayvon Martin's mother, will always be Trayvon's mom. She is running for office right now for Miami-Dade County Commissioner. That seems like a small seat. It's not a small seat. I want people to understand this. There are 500,000 seats in the United States, okay? And guess who knows that? Republicans know that. And they go after every single one of those seats. County commissioner, school board, everything. Because they know that every seat holds a bit of power to make decisions over our lives. So I want people, if you want to know who to support right now, you can go to Higher Heights ForAmericaPAC.org. And you can see who they've endorsed. You can see who they're supporting. I ask you to support Black women running for office. But I want you to also know that Black women right now are, we're done, we're tired, we're not going to be sidelined, we're exhausted. We never wanted to be sidelined in the first place, but this election in particular, I really want people to understand that. We have at least 16 million Black women that are eligible voters. We register at the highest level of all groups, and we vote at the highest level of all groups. So to me, Black women lead. They lead in office. They lead in voting. And by the way, I'll say this, I will conclude with this. Black women also lead an organization in voter outreach and getting people to the polls. Critical, critical, critical. Okay, so when we say we're tired of being sidelined and our issues being sidelined, I mean it. Oh, I want to say one more thing because Reese had touched on it. I want to say again that I want people to understand that the protests are important. Protests, by the way, are healthy because a lot of us are feeling pent-up pain. And a lot of us are feeling a lot of anxiety right now. And protests are a physical manifestation that something is wrong. And it's also a way to comfort each other right now. And I don't want people to think that I'm diminishing the protest somehow. But what I'm saying is, just like Obama said, we need to move that pain, that frustration, that comforting and joining into the voting booth and into leaders that are actually going to change this. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Spectacular. Heather?
I mean, Maya pretty much hit on everything. I have so many thoughts going through my mind right now. So I'm just going to kick it back to you, Drew, because literally I would have to take a second and pull it all in. But I think that it is very important that people understand that if you are an ally to us and you are out here marching, and I thank you but there has to be more. And to do more, it starts with not only just going out and voting, but also getting awareness about the people who are going to get the job done. And so Maya touched on all of that. I mean, these are women. There are women across the country, Black women in particular, that are running who have these experiences. You know what I mean? This isn't. I keep coming back to this because I hope that everyone understands. Like, this isn't something where we want you to be able to just be able to touch on talking points. No, these are experiences that for things to change, it has to be people in power who have experienced those things and are committed to those changes. So yeah, that's really all I had to add, because I could just keep going on. So yeah.
Absolutely. And also just having the audacity to actually, not just the audacity to hope, but the audacity to get stuff done. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what, Colin says. I don't have to sit around and wait for permission. I'm going to go ahead and do it. She sees something happen, she will jump in. She will speak up. She will get a resolution going. Now she will introduce a bill. Again, so at the end of the day, yes, Black women that lead. I mean, we could go down the list of so many Black women who are leading, in fact. But again, this is live with KHive, so we all go out. But shout out to all the sisters who are leading as well. And yeah, we're gonna keep a strict time for this one. But
no, I think we can shout out some people. Okay. You have DC Mayor Muriel Bowser, who painted Black Lives Matter in DC. Oh, that's gonna burn some people up, but I love it. I love that she painted Black Lives Matter as big as the eye can see. Kamala Harris was out taking pictures with that and mingling with protesters. We can shout out Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who signed up for the 8 Can't Wait Challenge that activists like Samuel Sagawe are pushing, and Brittany Packnett are pushing, the Campaign Zero, 8 immediate reforms that can take place in the police reforms. Listen, we're alive with the KHive, but we're not intimidated. We're not scared of other Black women, because Kamala is not scared of other Black women. Kamala uplifts Black women. Kamala supports Black women. She doesn't operate in a way that, oh, that person might be on the VP list, so I don't want to shout them out. That ain't how Kamala gets down. That is how other people get down, but that's not how Kamala gets down. Now, when it comes to VP, be clear, Kamala and only Kamala. But when it comes to the fact that these women doing their jobs, then that's absolutely good to shout them out. But I do want to shout out 2 more people. Pam Keith she's running a primary down in Florida. And so I want to shout her out for U.S. Congress. And I want to shout out Jackie Gordon, who is in a primary also for U.S. Congress in New York. So those are just 2 people off the top of my head. I'm sure there are others. And I also try to amplify Black women at local elected officials that are running for office and things like that. So we can't just look at the higher offices. We have to look at every office and make sure that we are amplifying, donating to. Somebody said, I heard a comment earlier this week, oh, Act Blue's fundraising is surging. I saw that Joe Biden raised a record $4 million. That's great in one day. But can some Black candidates raise some money? Can y'all putting out all these Black squares? You putting out all these amplify Black people, listen to Black people, and then you go and donate $4 million to Joe Biden. Come on, make that make sense. So put some money behind some of these Black candidates. If you're going up against a Black candidate, drop out and support that Black candidate. If you're under consideration for the VP, withdraw. Say it needs to be a Black woman. Then that's when I believe you. I believe what you're saying. When I see what you do. If you're saying something, but you're still saying, get to the back of the bus behind me, but you can shout as loud as you want to from the back, as long as you're from behind me, then I ain't got nothing for you. Then I don't believe what you're saying. So if you're going to be an ally, if you're going to live with what you say, start by putting your money where your mouth is, and start by stepping aside and uplifting Black people, Black women, period. Anything short of that is this, talking.
Asking for restorative justice here. Oh my God.
That's what we're talking about. It's no time to mince words. Why are we out in the streets and mince words on Zoom? Why are we out in the streets and mince words on Twitter? We're gonna make demands. Let's make the demands. If we're gonna hold people accountable, If we're gonna say, put your money where your mouth is, put your money where your mouth is. That means you. with your hashtag, your bio, your speeches, your PDFs, and your allyship, then you need to not just step up, but step aside and let a Black person like Alexis Serena Williams' husband, who said, I'm gonna resign from this board and I'm gonna put a Black person in my place. That's what I call allyship. Not, I'm gonna stay up here on my pedestal, but I'm gonna let you shout up at me and I'm gonna retweet you, or I'm gonna go ahead and put you on my Zoom call so that you can have my platform, but it's still mine. We want our own platform. We want our own power. We want our own seat. That's all I got to say about that.
I want to give one more shout out and congratulations to Ella Jones, first Black elected female, Ferguson, Missouri. That's very healing. You know, it's a first step. I'm excited to see what she does, and I'm thrilled to see it, and I want to see more of it. And I will also say today, Reese, you mentioned Mayor Bowser about the mural, but there was also, she put up, you saw the sign that she put up for Black Lives Matter too. She put a street sign up today for Black Lives Matter Plaza, and there was a little flag there, and it was and Reese knows this better than I do, but about DC statehood. And so, you know, DC is 48% Black, and it's time for DC to have full representation there. So I'm happy to see the flag. It's a flag that says, it's a shout out to statehood representation. It was a flag that was draped next to the sign. And I hope that DC gets full representation. You know, I don't know, some people don't know that, but they don't have full representation in Congress. They don't have a voting in there. And Kenny's there, hi. Or he's saying thank you. Okay, that's all I have to say about that.
Oh wait, one more person I want to shout out. Desiree Timms, thank you in the comments. Desiree Timms, she's a US House candidate in Ohio.
Yay.
Got to shout out Brenda Jones. She's running in Michigan. So that's a few more people that I want to shout out. Vote for Black woman in the primaries. Donate to Black woman in the primaries. Vote for Black woman in general election. Drop out if you run against a Black woman and get behind her and endorse her and put your money behind her. Step aside. You can listen in silence. Listen means listening. You don't need an announcement. Just go ahead and hand over the mic and sit down. That's what I have to say.
Let's do it.
And piggybacking, sorry, because I know we gotta move on to the next topic, but piggybacking off of that, support your representatives that are already in Congress. I saw this, I believe it was last week? Gosh, it's like the days have gone. So, but Joyce Beatty, representative congresswoman out of Ohio, she was attacked by, she literally was tear gassed by, or was it pepper spray? What was it, guys?
Pepper spray.
By the police while protesting peacefully. This is a congresswoman who has been serving y'all for years. And she can't even go protest on behalf of with her constituents without being attacked. So pay attention to the work that's being done already in Congress, as well as supporting the women who are running both federally and on the state level. Local level, but also, you know what I mean? Like, get out there and advocate for the women that have already been doing this work.
Joyce Beatty, my girl. No, Joyce Beatty, my girl. That's a Delta from Central State. She can handle herself. And she got back on Twitter right after that. She said, I'm straight, y'all. We good. Just look, we all right. She shook it right off. So you know what I'm saying? You know the real ones. You stay real. It don't matter. It don't go away. You born with it. You live with it. It's forever. It's evergreen. Alma Adams, I just want to shout her out as well. We're going to do just for Charlotte. So from that folk, definitely showing love there. And of course, Marsha Fudge. I just like her. She seemed like somebody going to my church or something. When I see Marsha, that's what I feel like. Sister Fudge, how you doing? How your mama doing, baby? That's the energy that she gives off to me. But yeah, so we're moving on. So actually, at this point, one of the things that still needs to be or stay at the forefront, and thank God. Oh, let's shout another Black woman, Ayanna Pressley. Ayanna Pressley and Kamala Harris. Remember, they were focused, so and still are. I don't mean past tense, but still are focused on the survival and the survival and the health of Black businesses, especially small Black businesses. Speaking of Black businesses, I want to do a quick Black business shout out. So, who has a black business they want to shout out first? It can be your own business. You don't have to be, somebody else. Promote yourself. It's fine. Matter of fact, Heather, what's up with you? Yeah, you got your own. Go ahead, girl. You start off.
Of course, you got to kick it to me. I'm not the only one with my own business here. Maya. But yes, my business, I guess. I was not going to plug my business.
Kamala told that girl to plug it in church and it ended up being a sex shop. She's like, oh, Lord.
Kamala always tells people to plug your business. She, especially a Black woman. I've seen her do that on multiple times.
My business, online marketing, digital marketing, and design. So we work with predominantly startups and small to mid-sized businesses. So you can check everything out. Again, Heather Rose Goes. It's all on my social media. It's everywhere. I'm working on a whole bunch of really dope projects, as well as going to be introducing a few other endeavors that are for specifically communities of color, for entrepreneurs who want to go into their own, to basically starting their own businesses, whether it be brick and mortar or online, obviously because of everything that's going on. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I was not ready to plug any of that. But I just wanted to actually say quickly before we all go around, there was some resources that I'm going to share on my Twitter. They're for allies who are interested in learning more about racism in this country and how you can not be racist. There's a series of books. It basically was just a catalog, a collection that was put together from activists. So I'm going to share that. It's going to be on my Twitter, Heather Rose Goes. Yeah. So, and the link is bit.ly. So bit.ly/anti-racism, I believe is what it is. So that's all.
Fantastic. Y'all jump in. Black business shout out. Y'all go ahead. Jump right in. Come on now. Go ahead, Kenny.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead first. I was gonna say something silly anyway, but not really silly. If you guys are ever in the Charlotte area, there's this big soul food place called Sunset Soul Food. Definitely recommend it. If you want some hog maws, fried chicken, collard greens, few slices of ham, honey. As soon as you take a bite, you'll be out like a light. And if anybody wants to support me, you can support me at, I don't really got no business. I'm gonna set up an OnlyFans. How about that? I'm just playing.
Kenny, oh my God. Lord have mercy. I love it. Turn up. Turn up.
You say
Maya, did you want to go?
Like, that should be on the sign. You need to
Maya, did you have someone to plug?
Yeah, I can go really fast. I didn't know Kenny was going to talk about food. I can talk about food all day. Just Durham, North Carolina, backyard barbecue, but it's COVID. I'm not the best barbecue. It's ridiculous. It's insane. Okay, but I want to talk about Wonder Curl. They're amazing. They're my favorite hair products. Wonder, like wonderful, wondercurl.com. Go to them. They have amazing products. I met the owner. Just a backdoor brag, I gave a lecture about Eurocentric beauty standards and how that's been awful and all the racism that's involved in that. And I met a bunch of women who were Black-owned business owners who did hair products at that meeting, at that lecture. And she just gave me some. She's like, "Here, just try some of this." And I just ran through it. So I genuinely just love that stuff. So Wonder Curl, there you go. I'm done. Check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Can I go ahead and jump in, Reese? Are we good to go? Okay, perfect. So I actually want to shout out. I didn't really have a business to shout out, but I did want to shout out a friend of mine that all three of us know, me, myself, Reese, and Heather. He's been doing a phenomenal job. His name is Ron, aka DJ Artistic. And y'all can follow him at DJ capital Artistic, and it's spelled just like that. He is a good friend of Reese's, good friend of Heather's, and we're always parlay into his lives. He does the after parties to the verses lives all the time on Instagram, so you can check him out. He's on Twitch recently. But I did want to go ahead and shout him out. I did see him recently on Insecure, and I'm an artist myself, so I'm always going to try to shout out creatives. So if you guys haven't got an opportunity to check him out on Insecure, or haven't got an opportunity to check out that show by Issa Rae, I would definitely check that out. And shout out to all the creatives out there still, doing our thing. Entertainment is driving the world, so I love it.
Man, I told Artistic I wanted him to spin at Kamala's inauguration. I was like, yo, she get that umbrella, I'm telling you, I'm going to push, I'm going to text whoever I got, whoever, we're going to get you up there. But no, he that dude. Go ahead, Reese.
I'm going to shout out my cousin, Dazzle Bands. I don't know if you guys can tell my earrings. I have them in every color shade. I love big earrings. I usually have a ton of bracelets, but that's a little bit too flashy for Live with the KHive. But I buy all of my earrings from her. She's a Black woman. She does everything. She hand crafts these earrings. Beautiful, gorgeous earrings. I've had these for probably 2 or 3 years now, and they still sparkle and blingy. So I'm going to shout her out. It's Dazzling. It's Dazzle Bands on Instagram. She don't have a website yet, so you're gonna go ahead and just look her up on Instagram and email her. Look at the earrings and stuff. But Dazzle Bands on Instagram. She has an Instagram page, and I'll put the comment in here on each thing so you guys can see it. But go check her out. Support Black women business. Support Black businesses. Power to the people.
I want to shout out my business. Because I be minding my business. That's why. So I'm just gonna go shout that out, and that's why I get along so well with people, because I don't be in their business. I'm not my business. It's My Beeswax Incorporated. I'm just kidding, but no, seriously though, no, that's great. Please support local Black businesses. Absolutely. Maya Chop Barbecue, Durham, North Carolina. Chop Barbecue, state of North Carolina. Period. It's the best in the world. Let y'all know you ain't had it. Not pulled pork. We talking about chop barbecue, chop barbecue. That's how they say it. It's a little vinegar. It's fantastic. I grew up on it. But matter of fact, Reese, what they say in the comments? Does anybody know about chop barbecue in the comments?
They probably know. Well, talk about it. I'll give you the report. I think we're on to Q&A now, though, right? Is everybody staying on?
This is.
Yeah, I can stay on.
Well, I have a question. Are we gonna move to Q&A, or are we gonna do the after show?
Okay, so do y'all want to do a separate
show or what?
Okay, let's take a
Are
vote. So what we can do is we can close out this episode of Live with the KHive, right? But then y'all got to come back. I'm gonna go right live again. And it's gonna be the after show, which means we can say whatever the hell we want to say. It ain't got nothing to do with Live with the KHive. So, if y'all want Live with the KHive Q&A, comment. If you gonna bring your ass back, you gotta click on a whole nother link. I know that's asking a lot for people in 2020. People don't like to. Oh, I gotta come back. I gotta look at it. Wait, oh my God, no, that. Okay, that's what you're gonna have to do. So y'all tell us. I'm gonna look at the comments. First 5 comments is gonna win. Do you
know what they're gonna pick? You know what they're gonna pick.
After the show, comment after the show, or do you want Q&A? Q&A is keeping it here. After the show is we got to start over so that we don't want to mess up Live with KHive and what we're trying to do.
I'm on YouTube.
Somebody said KHive Unleashed. KHive Unleashed. Unfiltered.
We want to know what y'all really feel.
Okay, so Drew
and these cheeses. These cheeses, though. I'm dying.
So Drew, why don't you close this out? And then listen, y'all, in the comments, y'all here. So if I see 50% of y'all, the next thing I'm gonna be like, y'all was lying. Then what you're gonna have to do is I'm gonna close this out, and then I'm gonna reopen it, and it's not gonna be Live with KHive. It's gonna be KHive Unfiltered. We're not even gonna call it KHive. We're gonna call it a bunch of people. It's not KHive. Let's be clear, because y'all, KHive is saying this, KHive is saying
well, does somebody have Does someone have one question that they want?
Maya don't want to be involved. See, Maya's like, look, I'm not gonna be involved with the unfiltered.
But
just
because
Maya has some things to say. I know you have some things to say, Maya.
What about
Does anybody have? Okay, so before we go,
Maya got to say about Brittany.
Does anybody have any questions for Maya?
No. We can leave that for unfiltered. I feel that there's gonna be some tea in this.
I think Maya said no.
I think Maya has to go though, right?
Yeah, Maya has to go. Right?
I'm writing something right now, but
Maya can't never say.
If someone wants to ask me a question, you can ask a question, and I can say it say it in a very politically way that's not would not hurt anybody. I think if someone wants to say.
I got a question. What was the interaction between you and Brittany? I got the question. How about that?
No, that's not for this. That's not for this. We're not doing that. We're not gonna do that. We can talk about elected people, but let's not go there. Let's not go there.
We shouldn't even elevate that here because.
But I will say this, and I'm not going to say because to respect Reese, I will say that I can join for the unfiltered to answer that, and then I got to pop out, and I can so I can do that. Okay. I can jump in and jump out. Does that work?
Oh, look at Maya. Look at Maya. Y'all see this rider with the cliffhanger? She hit y'all with the cliffhanger. You gotta come back.
Right. Okay, so we're gonna be right back. So what you're gonna have to do is, if you're on YouTube, you're gonna have to refresh. If you're on Twitter, you're gonna have to refresh. If you're on Facebook, you have to refresh. Okay. I don't have a link because I gotta stop this and refresh it. So come right back to whatever platform you're watching this on. Look for it to come back. It's only gonna take 2 minutes. I'm gonna change the title and I'm gonna refresh it. So come right back.
So we're gonna close this out real quick. And so another episode of Live with KHive. Like I said, stay live with us tonight in the daytime. We did our thing live for real. Take care.
Bye y'all.
Bye y'all.